Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Krista here to do the April 2018 monthly extended forecast. This is for Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs. I hope that you enjoyed last month's monthly reading in addition to your mid-month check-in, as opposed to doing weekly readings. So thank you to everyone for your support and for your comments and likes and shares and subscriptions. We're just going to shuffle here until we cut the deck for you. We're using the Good Tarot for your main general spread today. As it is a general reading, whatever is most prominent in your life, I encourage you to take these messages and apply them to, and I hope that you find them helpful and healing. So what does Gemini need to know for the month of April 2018? What are messages for Gemini for April 2018? For Gemini 2018. So just to keep things a little fresh, I will be using a 7-card horseshoe spread today. So in total, there'll be 8 cards. I'll be using the bottom of the deck for general energy. And then as always, we'll be pulling a card, or letting a jumper card, rather, from each of the other decks that I have here from your oracle decks here for additional messages. So at the bottom of the deck for you this month, Gemini, we have the 4 of Pentacles. This could be considered someone who is sitting tight on something, either finances, something that's already in motion, something that's already in the physical world, very likely your finances. It could be property, it could even be a piece of property, jewelry, furniture, that type of thing. Not going to suggest that this is an idea that you're sitting on and not telling anyone about necessarily, but something that you're sitting on. It's also, in some interpretations, it's considered the miser card, so there could be some keeping something close to the cuff here, possibly out of a sense of protection, or maybe not seeing the whole picture, or not feeling as though you are taken care of, right? There could be a concern here over something and you're holding on to something really tightly. Is the underlying theme here to your reading. Let's get the rest of your cards out. I do like to make mention of any major arcana cards that are coming out. So already I can see there are 1, 2, and 3 major arcana cards for your reading today. And when we get to those, I'll point out that these are really just potent energy, as opposed to, say, you know, individuals in your environment this month, or energy and themes, for example, that you'll need to work through or be aware of. So just recall that a lot of this is with regard to either helping confirm something for you, a question or a concern, or helping to guide you in a certain direction when you apply these messages. So with that all being said, Gemini, let's get into your reading. So the card representing your past is the 7 of Swords, or the 7 of Air. 7s are typically a little bit about waiting, resting, maybe holding your position, and that's what this one is, really. But it also means that you're in a good position to begin with, and with Air or Swords, we're dealing with the mind, we're dealing with the intellect, we're dealing with the world of ideas. So you might just be, or have been rather, in the process of defending ideas here, or defending concepts, or really finding out through this discussion or through this debate or dialogue where you do stand. But you are going to come out on top here, or you have come out on top here with this discussion or dialogue, or even thought process, if this is something that's going on sort of internally, mentally for you. And there's always an opportunity to learn more. It's a nice reminder not to get stuck on themes, not to get stuck on something, but you could be protecting that thought or notion or ideology here because it has strength, because it already has strength, so it's easy to protect here. or guard or defend, as it were. So that is your most recent past. This is your present. This is a gorgeous card. It's one of the most pleasant, fulfilled kind of cards in all of the elements. And this is, of course, the 10 of Cups. And we have this big happy Buddha here. And this is, the image is very explanatory. Also, there's just, so cups or water as an element is looking at emotional fulfillment, emotional, the emotions, the world of feelings, the world of intuition. I would even say, as opposed to, you know, passionate sexuality, which I would say is the domain of fire or wands, I would say that this is sensuality. This is, you know, the stage of flirtation, that type of thing. It's very romantic. So this is really just having all your cups filled. So this is the, of course, the 10, and we're looking at endings here. So it's almost like you've reached the pinnacle of something. So your present is really cozy. This is what this is looking like for you. Your present situation for April 2018, Gemini, looks really cozy and content and fulfilled. Very, very positive card, particularly, as I mentioned, emotionally positive here. You could feel as though you're able to express yourself in a really positive way as well right now, that you are so confident and competent emotionally and sensually and in a feeling sense, in the world of feelings, that you can now offer this to others. And it may be bringing more people to you. You may be reconnecting with people here, reconnecting with bonds, rebonding. Your compassion level, as I would, you know, here as at a 10, like compassion is at an all high here as well. So this is a beautiful state of being to be in for the month, Gemini. And your hidden influences is the Queen of Water. So, I mean, check this out. You're really, you've come a long way here, because this is saying this is your present, and the hidden influence is this could represent you. This could be, you know, the pinnacle of emotional expression. The world of feelings feels very comfortable to you. You're able to express this very confidently. Or as a hidden influence, this could be a member of your family or a work member, or you could have Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces in the first 5 planets of your own chart. If that's the case, this could be coming from within, that you're able to bring to the fore, even as a Gemini sun, as it were. It also could be a player or an actor in your environment who is a Cancer, Scorpio, or a Pisces. If that's the case, you could be learning a lot from them about how they go about communicating. They might even be the person who's able to get to this depth with you. You got to remember, when we're dealing with water or cups here, we're dealing with the depths of emotions, right? Like a sense of fulfillment here. So this is someone who is very confident, comfortable, but also extremely nurturing, right? This is the person who is able to, or as an energy, this is an energy that's able to react compassionately, to behave compassionately, both with ourselves and others. And it's just a really beautiful, high frequency emotional card here. I think the only caveat in April for you is that there could be a sense of being too emotional or being out of sorts with your emotions, just because we do have the moon here representing you. So, and of course the moon is rules the sign Cancer, and Cancer is a water sign. So there is a lot of sort of intuitive feeling, emotional, sort of sensual energy for you here. And with the moon representing you, this is where there could be something a little bit undoing, maybe over emotional, maybe even getting, but on the other hand, Gemini, it could be that you're getting in touch with your emotions, and it sort of strikes you maybe intellectually as though it's over emotional, but it could be just absolutely appropriately emotional. So depending on what's going on with you this month, it could be that if you are experiencing what you might describe as, you know, being over emotional, or, you know, I'm feeling too much, quote unquote. It could be that it's just you haven't spent a whole lot of time there recently, for example, and it feels like it's a little bit out of sorts, but it's natural. And these are natural emotions, and it's a natural way to express yourself. The moon also looks at maybe some type of something is concealed. Maybe there's something being hidden here, something not coming to the fore, something in the shadows type thing. And because this does represent you, for example, it could be something that maybe you feel that you have to conceal from someone else. Maybe you have a lot of heart around something, or a lot of feelings or emotion or intuition around something. And, you know, instead of getting, say, to the heart of the matter here, where you feel perhaps unsafe or it's not the right time because of any number of circumstances, you know, you're sort of playing the, I'm going to play the intellectual card around this concern, and I'm just going to take a step back or wait till I'm comfortable and confident in this area before I go ahead and move forward here. Again, in a general sense, so however you're applying this. But the moon is really just saying that there are some hidden elements here. It does represent you in this reading. So there could be something that you are discovering about yourself here that you should feel that you have the time to do that. Okay, there's no real need to rush here, especially if there is a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces in your environment. You could be learning from them, and they could be drawing something out from you here that you want to take a little bit more time with, or you don't want to face at this time. Okay, so I'll leave that as it is, because the curious part about what is next for you is the influence of others, and this is the Strength card. So this can be read two ways here. So the influence of others means that you can count on them, you can lean on them right now, you know, this other person. The Strength, it could also be read as the card of the Leo or Leonian energy, so someone who is very courageous. So if you feel as though you need to lean on someone right now, there is that influence in your environment. If it's you and you feel like you can only rely on yourself right now, you're going to have to draw a great deal of strength from yourself and from previous conditions where you found yourself successful in relying on yourself. But in terms of the influence of others here, there are a lot of people in your corner, okay? There's a lot of strength to be drawn here from those whom you share your environment with. So if you do feel secretive, or that, you know, there's a withdrawal here, it appears as though it has more to do with perhaps you feeling uncomfortable with revealing something at this time than it has to do with what others might do with it or say about it. Perhaps you just need to come to terms with something here about your sense of compassion, about giving and taking, fulfillment, emotional competence, that type of thing. And again, I don't see there being a massive rush for you to do anything about that here. That being said, we do have the Ace of Fire in the position what you should do, which is something that's being given to you, sort of divine intervention is being given to you, which is an action. So it could be that you aren't willing to do anything about it, but an event or a theme will play out where it'll be made, you know, an opportunity to perhaps reveal something here will be made available to you. So I don't think you have to do anything to make this happen. I think it'll occur for you. If this was the Page or even the Messenger of Fire, I would say, okay, I think it's an action that maybe you have to take, or you're being asked to actually do something about this, have a conversation from the heart, you know, trust in others at this time, even put them to the test if you have to. It might be an interesting way to have the conversation, just, you know, to sort of tiptoe into it. But, you know, this is really saying the opportunity, it looks like, will be made available to you. And this is really just saying you're going to have to, you know, acknowledge that and then take advantage of that. So an action will be made available to you, and you're going to have to look for that opportunity, you know, to have this conversation or bring something here into the fore that's sort of deep for you. Again, on an emotional level here. But yeah, this is a great opportunity, and it could be very exciting, and there's an element of passion here. Anytime we're dealing with fire, we're dealing with passion as well. So it could be the beginning of expressing yourself emotionally, or in a heartfelt or compassionate or in a feeling or a sensual way that you were holding on to for whatever reason. The other person has, or other people have, a lot of strength to provide to you, especially if this means for any reason that you're falling apart, or something is falling apart for you, or you're feeling insecure or emotionally unwell. I think your partner or your surroundings has a lot of strength to provide to you right now. So maybe just being honest about needing some help or insight or protection or something without revealing everything that's in your heart right now. I think that could be an element that's available to you as well. And so you can feel protected that way while providing a little bit of information, or taking advantage of an opportunity to give, to provide a little bit of insight about, you know, what you could be going through or dealing with right now. But yeah, I think the ace, as with all the aces here, is almost like a divine intervention or a divine opportunity here for you to take action. So I don't see there to be a rush necessarily, but I do think there will be an opportunity. And then for your final outcome is World. Here's where we're looking at, you know, significant changes, you know, sort of coming to terms with something, you know, not necessarily cycles, but this sense of from this world to the next, like a whole different world. And if you look, for example, at the water and on the moon and like a lot of emotional and sensual energy here, it could feel like a little bit of a different world for you. Because basically what happens when we are forced to look at something through a different perspective, which is how you began the month in your recent past. I mean, you were thinking through something here, right? So possibly thinking through your feelings and then realizing, you know, you can think through it all you want, but the expression of your feelings really has its own domain. So this could be that you're just gathering perspective on an issue or on a theme or a sense of motivation here with the world. And it's beautiful because it's helping to evolve you and evolve your sense of compassion and your sense of self and who you truly rather feel that you are, and to get closer to the mystery here and not be maybe scared off by the mystery about what's inside. Maybe having questions about something, especially about yourself if you're just learning about this, or about broader, say, spiritual or esoteric matters, for example, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Maybe having all the answers or defending something that is defenseless or has holes in it, for example, isn't going to help you in the long run. You know, sometimes having answers to something and not asking any more questions or not looking at it with the heart or on an emotional level or with a different perspective here can kind of stymie us. So it might be really positive here for your probable outcome, at least maybe near the end of April, for you to say, you know what, this isn't a bad thing. It may feel a little uncomfortable, it may feel a little weird or awkward, but it's not bad. It's just, it's a different way of looking at things. And of course, with the Four of Pentacles as the overall energy here, sort of touching on all of them, there's this sense of self-protection here. I mean, you're protecting something. Again, I can't say if that's good or bad. I think only you can decide that, but you'll have to decide for yourself if what you've been protecting here is worth protecting, and if it's the truth. And if it is the truth, does it mean that there's no deeper to go? Like, have you sort of plumbed the depths of this theme or concern or question or phase, whatever it is? Holy smokes. So So we had a nice little group of these jump out. I am just going to shuffle until we get a card each from the other, from the oracle decks here rather. And then we'll go through these one by one, just for some additional messages to polish off your reading today. So the first card that has come up, and I will show these to the camera up close in just a moment. We have signs. So this is lovely. This is another way of looking at the prospect of, you know, what's under the surface? What's something that can't be seen but can be felt, you know, here. And signs is a really nice way of going about that, especially if this is new or unusual for you, or if it is unfamiliar or even uncomfortable to plumb these depths, for example, or to have, say, mystery. Especially if it's about yourself. We like to think that we know who we are. I mean, maybe just something has happened and it's taken you, you're out of sorts because you didn't expect to react a certain way about it, or maybe you're emotionally maturing here and you're reacting in a way that you think is more appropriate. And the question could be, gee, you know, where did that come from? That type of thing. Like, it doesn't have to be an overwhelming life-altering energy here. It's just sort of like, you know, themes and questions and ideas and prospects type thing. Also opportunities, right? Like if we look at how we could approach things, it can give us options, and that's always lovely. It's always nice to have options, especially when we're, you know, in the process of self-development, you know, learning more about ourselves. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at these here. I think you're really coming through something, you know, from one end to the other. And I see this more probably than possibly, more probably being strictly about you and at least one other close relationship. So business, romance, family member. Two jumped out. Let's take them. So significant changes are basically what these cards are speaking to, you know, the oracle cards that jumped out. There's just approaching things differently and then being willing to understand how we grow during these experiences so that you don't feel out of sorts, so that this starts to feel like second nature to you. So as I mentioned, signs is one of your first oracle cards to come out. And again, this is really just looking at what is working, what isn't. Are you attached to something because it's always been a good idea, or it's your idea from the beginning and you don't want any advice or any input because this is the way it is? Or are you willing to look at it through a different lens here, through the heart, really? Are you willing to allow for some mystery here? You know, are you willing to take something by the reins when the opportunity shows itself, that type of thing? I certainly wouldn't go about forcing anything this month. You know, maybe just wait for an opportunity here to take action. But, you know that you are surrounded by a lot of strength and that you certainly do have this within. Here with the bat is rebirth. This is coming out the other side of something. It is a shamanistic rebirth is another way to frame this as well. There could be shamanistic qualities here, certainly if you are doing any spiritual or esoteric work, but absolutely can be applied to the emotional theme that's going on here as well. You know, from this sense of you need to keep something close to the chest or close to, or protection, to the point of, you know, not being able to share or even show anybody, to, you know, you might have even, what do we say when we justify it, you know? And then there's this sense of, but what's going on internally? So there's a lot of changes and maybe, you know, a lot of personal growth within, emotional growth within here. So you're coming out the other side of something, which is really beautiful, because I think it is going to change your perspective, and it is going to help you in the long run. And then here, of course, we have the between worlds, and this is coming out the other side of something as well. These are actually very similar. So coming out the other side of something that was dark or dreary, or, you know, you felt a little bit stagnant and you're coming out the other side. This is gorgeous. But it's almost like you have to accept it. It's like no one's going to say, okay, come on. You sort of have to say, I'm ready now, that type of thing. And I think that it'll be shown to you, that opportunity will be shown to you in April. So 2 of the last cards here we have are pay attention to the red flags. The signs are cautioning you. So now you have 2 signs cards. So curious, I'd be like, yeah, look for the positive signs, look for all these things. And this one is really just saying, you know, keep your eye open for both. Keep your eye open for what isn't working right now, especially if you feel put out or put on, or if you're trusting your instincts and you haven't been before and you're just like, oh, something doesn't feel right. I'm not going to think about it and read into it, but it just doesn't feel right. I'm going to trust that. You know, I would say, yeah, definitely pay attention to that. This goes for, I would say, couples, singles, and for creative projects here. Any red flag that is coming up in those areas, I would pay attention to those. It doesn't say to drop everything, it just says pay attention. So you're going to want to trust your instincts, trust your intuition right now. And then with religious factors, your love life is influenced by your religious upbringing and spiritual path. So for my coupled viewers, this isn't necessarily a negative thing. This could actually draw you closer. And remember that upbringing does include geography and linear time. So there could be geographical distances and there could be age differences here in the religious factors card. For my singles, this is really something that's going to suggest here that the person that you're interested in or that you are seeing or currently dating isn't going to necessarily have been brought up the same way you were. Again, religious, but also cultural, okay? Religious and spiritual. So they might even have a completely different outlook than you. It doesn't mean it's going to get in the way, but it is something to be aware of. And then, of course, for my creative projects, this is really beautiful for your creative ventures. It could be that your esoteric or spiritual leanings will be helping you in your creative ventures, and not to stop yourself if that's the case, including time. If you are, say, linear time, let's say you're attracted to, you know, the culture in, say, America 200 years ago, you know, and that's a creative concept for you, you know, go with it. This is just stating this playing a part and that you should run with it. So that is your extended forecast for April 2018. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below if you have a second, and you can look forward to your mid-month check-in. That's in mid-April 2018. Until then, take excellent care. Bye for now.